One of the things that I found astounding recently is there was a study on the highest frequency. And before I heard this, I would have sworn that the highest frequency is love. I would have bet the house on it. And it turns out I would have lost the house. The highest frequency is authenticity.
What if the conversations we've been taught to avoid about sex, desire, and our bodies are actually the ones that set us free? Welcome to Sex Ritual Radio. I'm your host, Rose Heartsong. This is the show where sexuality, spirituality, and vital health meet, and where we explore the conversations most people consider oh so taboo. Each week, I sit down with fascinating voices exploring intimacy, relationships, healing, and human potential. Let's dive in.
You are listening to Inner Journey with Greg Friedman on KXFM 1047. And as promised, we are here hanging out with Rose Heartsong. Rose has the program after us. Check her out. It's roseheartsong.com. And her tagline at the top, the first thing you're going to see when you go to her website is, and I love this personally, you don't need to be fixed. You need to be ignited. It's like, what's going to get your soul on fire? What's going to light you up? What is going to cause you to be excited about being alive, excited to be of service, excited to love, excited to live rather than just exist? And she hosts the show right after mine. And she has a really fantastic guest on tonight. We'll talk about that later. And as the host of Sex Ritual Radio, Rose guides discussions that really cut through. And this is the big one because there's so much shame and fantasy. And it's a weird juxtaposition, shame and fantasy. And it's so weird that they are mirror images, but they really are in a lot of ways. How much are we ashamed just to be ourselves? How much are we ashamed to like what the soft, warm velvet of our soul really gravitates towards? So, Rose, how was that for an intro?
That was fantastic. Fantastical. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Thanks for inviting me on. I think this is my third time now.
I think it's your second time.
You had to come and talk about Mary Magdalene one time.
Oh.
So it's the third.
She's like an attorney. When she asks a question, she already knows the answer.
Okay, I'll make a statement. Thank you for having me on for the third time. I appreciate it. And I'm excited to see what kind of juicy conversation we're going to get into tonight.
So one of the things that came up to me, we could talk about anything that you want. You're the guest.
Thank you.
So let me start by asking you that. Is there anything that you want to talk about? Because I got a lot of stuff I want to talk about.
I think the thing that's been really present in my space with all of my teaching, I did a workshop yesterday in Costa Mesa, and I just came out of a client session straight from clients to here. And the thing that I feel is the most alive, and that's what I love to talk about on the radio, is like what's the most alive in my space, is the concept of how the nervous system impacts our desire.
I love that because what I want to talk about is a cousin to that. So tell me, how does the nervous system?
The nervous system is nervous system and pleasure are the same thing, basically. Like all our erotic turn on is linked back to where our nervous system is and if it's regulated or not. So if we're in fight or flight in the constant daily habit of modern society, which blue lights, emails, cell phones, algorithms on social media, they're all of our modern lifestyle habits are putting our nervous system in fight or flight. And when that happens, we can't actually, it's impossible to get blood flow to the genitals. It's a protection mechanism for us so that we're just not turned on when we think we're going to be attacked.
I'm a guy. It'll still work.
Most men, it actually doesn't. Interestingly enough, I've been dealing with a lot of men coming to me even as young as 19 with erectile dysfunction because of the modern technology in society.
There are direct correlations. There's a lot of studies going on about two things. One of them is, and I know you have strong feelings about the second one, one of them is the amount of gameplay can directly correlate to erectile dysfunction. And the second one, I know that you run with this banner all the time, is what happens with the way that we look at pornography in this world, men and women, is we have so much set neural pathways to have so much incredible overload of different stimuli. By the time that we get down to one-on-one,
yeah, exactly. And it's happening younger and younger. The average age that a boy watches porn is 11.
11? Average?
Yeah, it's the average age. No.
Average, that means that we're also talking
9-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 6-year-olds. They're finding on the internet. Yeah, it's a problem. Not saying it's not a problem, but if you think about it, it's in your generation, in my generation, we didn't have access to a phone in our pockets when we were young that had access to anything in the internet. No. And it's become a multi-billion dollar industry.
Oh, yeah.
And
huge.
Yeah, it's huge and it's very accessible. But the problem with it is that it's all performance. They're actors primarily getting paid to perform a role that doesn't actually mean they're enjoying their experience. And they're doing it for the camera angle a lot of times.
But I don't think that's the problem. It's like that may be a component of the overall problem. But to me, the problem is sexuality is not about put tab A into slot B.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not real. It's a performance, right? So then we're learning, that's our sexual development. If we're going to be real, porn is how we learn about sex in our society. That is our education. So if we're learning a certain education that's not real, then we're not learning the realness of what sexuality is.
And what is sexuality?
What is sexuality? Wow, that's a really big question.
You opened it up.
It really depends on what your intention is, right? So there's different elements. It's a primal human need. A lot of people don't realize that it's need, like drinking water, sleeping, eating food. It's a human need. We need to have sex. Primarily from an animalistic perspective, we need it for reproduction purposes to stay alive as a culture. And but then we have the spiritual element of being humans.
Before you move off the physical, that's just one aspect. The amount of different things that could happen to your physical health as a result of not expressing your physical sexuality is off the charts. Everything from prostate to all kinds of different cancers that you may be more susceptible to different heart diseases, to different vascular diseases. The list goes on and on and on. And people don't understand, if we're just going to take it down to the physiological, it's huge. It's vital for us.
It is, yeah. It releases oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, which help with making you feel more peaceful, more happy, and helps with pain release and helps you feel more present, more connected to yourself and your partner. There's just, the list goes on and on. So it's physically healthy to have sex.
Absolutely. And then I interrupted you. You were about to go on to the spiritual aspect.
On the spiritual realm, how many times have you been in the bedroom and you use the term, oh my God? So one of the things I stand for with Sex Ritual Radio is sex and ritual, right? Is bringing spirituality back into the bedroom and bringing intentionality. The simple things, if you're not a spiritual person, I'm imagining if they're listening to this show, you are in some way or another. But it's bringing intentions. What is your intention? This is a good question I ask a lot of people in my classes and my workshops and my one-on-one clients is, what is your intention? What is your desire? And what is your boundaries? And they're all really, really important. And they all bring a spiritual element to the act of sexuality, which a lot of people don't have those discussions prior. It just kind of happens and then they don't talk about it. So bringing in a spiritual element into the bedroom so that they get closer to God and to the divine and into transcendental places. You can do that through Tantra. You can do that through kink practices. There's so many different elements you can do to explore like out-of-body psychedelic experiences that don't have anything to do with any substances.
All right, you broke it down to a few different components. The first one was intention.
Yeah.
How do you guide people to knowing, first of all, their intention, and then secondly, communicating it to their partner?
If you don't think about it, if you're not bringing in the awareness of, oh, what is my intention? Usually the intention is to get off. And stress release, and it's almost like unconscious habit or pattern, right? So when we bring in the intention of it, as opposed to like you're just supposed to have sex because you're married, but like what is your desire and what's your intention between tonight? It could be like to nourish the intimacy between you guys. It really depends on the person and their desire for that evening. Or what their intention is. Maybe that is stress relief and that's okay. Or maybe their intention is to be as present as possible. Or maybe their intention is to explore something they've never done before. Or maybe their intention is to be open-hearted and eye gaze or whatever it is that is right for them in that moment or whatever it is. So the difference between intention and desire, that's a big question, is like, what is your intention? I did this in a workshop and I said, my intention today is to be the best facilitator I can be and to be present in whatever shows up. And my desire is for all the facilitators to get value in between everything that I teach.
Okay. So I have found this when I'm teaching workshops, especially when you're working with newbies. What's your intention? You too, obviously. So how do you get from, I don't know, to realization recognition?
One of the things that we know in our society that we're really trained to be good at is we are really clear on what we don't want. Right? Mm-hmm. So good at that. We practice that muscle all day long, constantly. I don't like this. This is not good. This sucks. So I always say whatever you desire, whatever the intention is, could be the opposite of what you don't want. Right? So if you don't want to have a quick sexual experience that doesn't involve any foreplay, so maybe your intention is to be really slow tonight. And your desire is to connect on a deeper level than you've ever connected before.
Fantastic. Now, you said intention was one. What followed that?
Desire.
Talk to me.
We have been told that desire is shameful. And it comes a lot from sin and the Bible. Not necessarily the Bible, but the culture around the Bible, aka Christianity. And there's this thing that you should not desire. And so because of that subconscious societal programming about desire, we're so petrified of it. And yet we crave it and we yearn for it and we want it. And yet we don't know how to express what it is that we desire. Right?
So talk a little bit about what desire may look like, and then the voices that come up right after I express some of my desires, even to myself.
On Sex Ritual Radio, I'd love to talk about the taboo, right? So that's one of my things is I like to challenge things. So it could be I desire to be flogged by a flogger. I desire to be spanked. I desire to be blindfolded. I desire to have a threesome. I desire to go to a sex party. I desire to breathe with my partner in rotational breath. I desire to have multi-orgasmic experiences. It's like whatever that kind of heart yearning is.
Yes. And for a lot of people, it doesn't have to be to the nth
extreme
degree.
Yeah.
Right. For a lot of people, it's like, hey, I'd like to try doggy. I'd like to try different positions. I'd like to face my partner during it. I'd like to have my partner talk to me. It could be very simple what we would consider to be vanilla practices. And there's nothing wrong with that. Mm-mm. The idea is that last sentence. There's nothing wrong with that. Within certain parameters, it's got to be consensual. It's got to be among adults. And it's got to be according to what is okay with you. You're allowed to have your boundaries. You're allowed to have things that you go, I know that this and this are right next to each other and almost the same thing. I don't care. I'm okay with one and not the other. And that's valid.
Yeah, but boundaries are really, really important in this realm. If you're not safe, if you're not creating safety, then you can create trauma. And that's one of my things. Consent is important. Of course, among adults is important. And also making sure that it's not causing any sort of trauma to the nervous system.
That's a tough one because a lot of times people will say yes because they are, for lack of a better way of saying it, programmed or accustomed to saying yes, and it in fact is something that triggers a trauma. How do you deal with that? How do both partners deal with that?
Having a safe word is really helpful.
Yup. Talk about that. Because everybody hears that term. What is it?
A safe word is an agreed upon word that both people understand means to stop whatever's happening in the moment and have a grounding experience.
Immediately.
There's no questions asked. It's just that is the word and it's done.
And a safe word can't be something like, oh, I don't know. No. It's got to be something that is so out of context that it takes you out of context.
The funny thing is one of the most popular safe words is pineapple. but the best one I think is just red, right? Using the word red, like using the traffic light concept because we're just so consciously programmed by traffic lights. So green means yes, yellow means this is a little much, and then red is dead stop. And that means everything stops, sex stops, everything doesn't matter what's happening in the moment. And I think that's another thing that we're not educated about in our society, that even if you're in the middle of a sexual act and you're not comfortable, you can stop at any time, and that's okay.
Absolutely. It's not, you can stop, you could slow down, you could change gears. You have the power. And if you don't, first you need to learn that. And secondly, you need to be able to communicate that. You have to give yourself permission to communicate that. And you have to communicate it to a partner that will respect that.
Yeah. And going back to the trauma piece, I think there's an attunement element that gets to be practiced in our society. They say, I don't know who they are, but I learned this from Tony Robbins, but it's 7% is words, 33% is tone, and 60% is body language in our communication. And I think one of the things that we have forgotten to be aware of is our body language awareness. And that's a big one in sexuality, really practicing presence and doing that through breathwork techniques while erotic turn-on is present can teach you to be more attuned to presence and to be attuned to your partner's expression. If there's any tightening or shutting down or disassociation, the other person being aware of that and reconnecting with them.
Oh my God, you have no idea. I had a partner and she was like, I can't control what my face does. I can't control how it comes out. And I go, actually, yes, you can. And that is communication as well. And people need to hear what you just said. Will you say it again, please?
To become attuned to people's body language and to learn to practice that. And to do that, it's hard in general for us as a culture to do that, right? It's not easy. It's challenging to be present enough to pay attention to what's happening in the body. And it's a superpower, really. If you can train yourself to do this, we all have the ability to do. But then to do that when erotic energy is present, right? Sexual energy moving through the body can sometimes take us over, and it can dominate us.
Oh, yeah.
And so we become like primal beings. And the best way to go back into the spiritual element and the conscious human element as opposed to the primal animal is breath and breathing. And then once you breathe into that, you can bring attunement to what's happening. With partners, if I feel them going into that primal element, which is not an okay for me, that's a boundary that I'm not available for with my own body, I communicate with them, hey, can we breathe together right now?
And you're also not saying that going into a primal element is something to be ashamed of or bad. You're just saying what works for you and what doesn't.
Yeah, no, for sure. I want to bring conscious primal and versus unconscious primal, right? So there's different ways. I think primal elements in the bedroom are really hot and sexy. I'm very into kink and taboo play, which can be very primal. But there's a difference between allowing the sexual energy to take over you so you're unconscious of the other person, right? Versus in your own pleasure. One of the first sexual awareness workshops I took, which blew my mind when I was I think I was 21, it was in Kauai, and this woman was teaching about tantra and sexuality. And I don't necessarily say I'm agreeing with her by any means, but I think there's some truth to what she said, is that an orgasm is a very selfish act. Because when you're having an orgasm, you're completely in your own experience fully, and you're disconnected from your partner. And I do think in modern sexuality, just in sexuality in general, we're always chasing a release, right? An orgasmic release. And so we're in our heads, we're trying to focus on for achieving the orgasm. And then when we learn this from porn, it's a huge part of it. And when we do that, we let go of presence. And then when we let go of presence, then we become submissive to our sexual energy, and we let it control us versus us controlling it. And when you're present and not being submissive to your sexual energy, the orgasms are 100,000 times better when you're not chasing them.
So many layers there. So many layers there. Okay. I agree that orgasm is a selfish act. And what I mean by that specifically is an orgasm is the closest place where we are present with the universal, the one into all, to touching the God energy. And there are ways to do it with another, but those are very few and far between. And predominantly what we're talking about is our connection to our expansiveness, to our allness, to our being the infinite being that we are in a corporal sense. That being said, tell me the percentages again that you thought Tony Robbins was talking about.
7% is words, 33% is tone, and 60% is body language in your communication.
Fantastic. We are here with Rose Heartsong. You are listening to Inner Journey with Greg Friedman, and we'll be back right after.
Hi, this is James Van Prague, and you're listening to Inner Journey with Greg Friedman, Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. Enjoy.
You are listening to Inner Journey with Greg Friedman. Website is gregfriedman.com, and social media is both Inner Journey with Greg Friedman and just plain old Greg Friedman. Tonight we are here with Rose Heartsong, and her website is roseheartsong.com. Rose, did you say you have a new platform coming up?
I just launched a new platform today so that I can release a lot more online programs for people, because people have been reaching out to me wanting to learn certain things, and I only have a certain amount of space for one-on-one clients. So I'm creating affordable programs for anyone around the world.
So talk to me about some of the programs, will you?
One of my favorites is, I called it Charged, and it is erotic polarity program for the masculine and feminine within. And I talk about the embodied masculine and toxic masculine, and embodied feminine and toxic feminine. And we have all four of them within us, no matter if we're a man or a woman. And so I talk about what each element is and how to practice it, and how it shows up in our lives, and then how to take the embodied version to the spiritual gym.
Could you talk a little bit about what the light and the shadow versions look like?
I love that you use the light and shadow. There's elements that are toxic. Our community, it's common for us in our society to practice the toxic versions. So the toxic masculinity is overworking, stressed out all the time, super money focused, doesn't relax, doesn't take time for themselves. Totally go mode all the time, thinking about, in the older generations, dads that never are home with their kids are even still happening. Their emotions aren't safe. The only emotions that are safe are like happiness and anger. And they're very dominant or controlling and have to micromanage everything. So that's the toxic version of the masculine. And then the embodied version of the masculine is protective, creating safe spaces for people, being present and grounded, and holding an energetic container for the feminine flow.
Now, I want to talk about this for a second, because to me it's very important. People tend to think of those in terms of black or white. He's either this or he's that. And more often than not more often than not, never are we black or white. It's that, so you're going to have that guy that holds a safe container, hello, and you're going to have that guy that gets angry sometime or an explosive sometime, hello. And it's a process of understanding that perfection is the pathway. It's not a destination. There is no ideal.
It's a practice.
Yes.
It's a practice. And I have both of those in me as well. And I'm a woman, right? I have the toxic masculine and the embodied masculine in me. And I practice them both. And I know when they're appropriate and necessary. When the toxic version shows up, I sit with it and have conversations with it and stuff. And there's parts of that in me. And also, I also have and you have the embodied feminine and toxic feminine.
Absolutely. So let's talk about those.
The toxic version is constantly doing something for others, always saying yes, even when they don't mean it, not having any boundaries, overdoing to make others happy, but hurting themselves in the meantime, and always caring for everyone but themselves. I think both toxic versions of the masculine and feminine have a hard time resting. Rest is not something that's safe or socially accepted. And in women, that shows up a lot of times with moms who put the children and the husband and everything first, and they don't put their own happiness or pleasure as a priority. And then the embodied version is Mother Nature, really. I think a lot of times it's a practice, surrender. There's a difference between submission and surrender. Surrender is a conscious choice, right? Where the submission could be more on the saying yes when they mean no kind of energy. So surrender is a choice, and it's one of the most, I think, challenging and bravest things we can do as humans is learning to surrender to what is.
It's all.
Yeah.
There is nothing without surrender.
Yeah. And
talk more about that, will you?
Especially with pleasure. There's no, if we're trying to control something when it comes to sex, usually it's not going to be a very effective experience. Effective as in pleasure, connection. In a male-bodied being, if they're not in surrender and they're in control, it can involve being in their head. And I always say when you're in your head, your boner's dead, right? And then for a female-bodied being, it can be not having an orgasm, not being able to let go and be in the bliss, and just same thing in your head. When you're in your head, your orgasm's dead. It's the same for women too. And so surrender is allowing what is in the moment, being present with what is in the moment, but making a conscious choice to allow it to happen without controlling it. Of course, surrender only happens, I believe, when there's safety and create boundaries. So boundaries are really important to surrender into. You shouldn't just surrender to anything or anyone unless they have created that safety for you to do so.
Nobody can create safety for you. You have to create safety for yourself and decide which one to put yourself in or not. And a lot of times people go, oh, that's not safe, as a construct to keep yourself away from surrender.
Yes. So, okay, thank you. And I probably said that incorrectly. Creating, I'm talking about sexual interactions, right? If you're in a sexual interaction that feels unsafe intentionally, that's going to be really hard. But at the same time, if the person is creating safety and you're not having the ability to surrender, then that is not their responsibility. It's your responsibility. And in that is being present to what is and breathing. I think breath is the most underutilized and undertaken advantage of when it comes to sex. A lot of times...
It comes to everything.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, and when we have erotic turn on present, we have a tendency to forget it even if we have a breathwork practice, right? It just amplifies things. Erotic energy amplifies things. So breathing, most of the time people breathe into their chest very quickly, and it creates a panic attack sensation, right? If a lot of times that's present. So bringing the breath out or holding their breath, that's another one. Holding their breath during sex is so common and so not pleasurable. It's very common though. So breathing into the belly, being intentional with your breath. I think the most impactful form of breath when you're having sex is doing rotational breath with your partner. So as they exhale, you inhale. As you inhale, they exhale.
Okay, so now I find a opportunity, because how do we do that, especially in the beginning, and not think? Because thinking's not going to really help us in that dynamic. Maybe long-term it will, but in that moment, it's going to more likely than not take us away.
Are you talking about the rotational breath?
Yes.
I have my couples practice it every day for 2 minutes when they're not having sex.
That was a great answer. Thank you.
Yeah, because when you practice it every day, then you're integrating it into your nervous system to become a normal pattern and habit. I've been practicing this. I learned that breathwork technique from Sama Zadora in 2014 in Los Angeles. And I do it. It's so integrated into my nervous system now that I just do it without even thinking about it. And most of the people that I'm having sex with don't even know that it's happening.
And there's another part of that you talked about, because a lot of times as people get closer to orgasm, they'll go,
yeah.
And you're going, let go.
Let's breathe. Can we breathe together? Yeah. Which sometimes it's important to talk about it prior to the sexual experience, because if you don't talk about it, I've had as an embodied sexual being, I've had men get insecure when I've asked them to breathe.
And I'll tell you, I don't know if I could say the same about me, but I've had women get insecure when I've asked them anything along those lines, because then they're feeling like it's a demand or it's performative, or it's especially a man to a woman asking for what you want. It becomes a whole different thing. Men are much more accustomed to, in this culture, to be going, oh, you'd like that? Let me provide that. Women, on the other hand, are more accustomed to saying, oh, you want that? What are you saying? I'm not enough, or I'm doing it wrong, or the other 32 things that go along with it. And I'm going, no, you're not doing anything wrong. It's an invitation. How does a man provide that invitation in a way that doesn't create negative ramifications?
I'm not a man.
Really?
And a lot of my clients, they come to me together as couples and working together. And when I do work with single men, which I do, I bring in a lot of the elements from the kink world and BDSM. And so we talk about outlines for desires in the bedroom in that way. And so I think the most important thing is to have the conversation when you're not turned on, and not from a starting upfront about, hey, this is just a conversation I would love to provide for both of us so we can have a better time and better experience. And I'd love to talk about some desires and boundaries and intentions in the bedroom. Are you available for that?
I have found that the kink world is much more conscious and much more able to communicate well than the normie world, for lack of a better way of saying it.
100,000%. I guess it's a really good question. And I think I'm also very uniquely blessed because I know how to communicate it so well. It's so easy for me. I think it's having an embodied presence and not having an extraction energy or a neediness energy. It's coming back to the tone and the body language, right? So if the body language and the tone has maybe insecurities or fear or fear, we can feel it. And so we're going to shut down. If there's not an anchored presence in the request, I think then that's where it is.
Fear and surrender in our entire lives, not just in a sensuality, sexuality realm, fear and surrender are so closely tied with one another. And people don't understand that the fear is almost always, not always, almost always an illusion that we create. And then we use it also as the logical, substantial story to keep us stuck in our pattern and to give ourselves permission not to surrender, which confounds me because, I mean, you really do know that once I surrender, I am letting go in order to have.
Surrender is pretty blissful.
Talk to that.
The resistance to surrender is extremely painful. And it's like this horrifically uncomfortable reality. And so many people are afraid of surrender because they're afraid of surrender. And they're afraid of that. And so then
they're afraid of happiness.
Yeah. So when they cross over to that surrender space and the bliss that comes with that, it's scary for their nervous systems. And that's one of the reasons they come to me. So like, I had this experience sexually and I don't know what to do with it. Help.
Enjoy it.
And I'm like, maybe we can start with breathing. I think that's a really good start. Yeah, it was interesting. I taught a workshop yesterday and there was 10 people and I taught breath of fire, which is this short, rapid breath work in through the nose and out through the nose. And the most challenging thing about the breath of fire is the relaxation of the gut and letting the belly go. And it's so fascinating because we don't know how to do that as a culture. We suck it in. So we're sucking in our bellies and then we're tightening our buttholes. And then we're like tight beings. I can't say that word on the radio.
Tight butts.
Tight butts. We're a lot of tight butts. And then in the tight buttness, we are tightening the muscles around our genitals. And in the tightening of the muscles around our genitals, we are like not allowing pleasure to move through our bodies.
Causing prostate issues.
Yeah. And issues with penetration or all of the above, right? There's so many challenges when we have tightness there. So one of the things you can do is stop self-pleasuring in an unconscious way and start bringing awareness to your pleasure practice with your body.
Talk about that, please.
So the traditional pattern that happens with both men and women is a quick release with just touching genitals quickly and getting to orgasm as fast as possible, which is similar to what happens in the bedroom. So when you start to actually have a self-pleasure devotional practice, it's breathing, touching different parts of your body, maybe stroking your throat or your eyelids, your lips, or...
Our entire beings are sensual organs.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, you know what I called that you were talking about before? The forget it method.
The forget it?
One, get it up, get it in, get it off, get it out. Forget it.
Which is so not fulfilling or satisfying.
No.
For everybody.
No, and yet that's where a lot of people live.
And we don't talk about it. People don't talk about it. It's crazy. I did the workshop yesterday. It was 10 people, and it was so interesting. I showed up with pure authenticity at the beginning, shared where I was at. I shared like my training of where I've come from, and then also my insecurities. And I was talking about how I shared I have an attunement of what availability. I'm very attuned to people's energy. I can read people very well. And I have a lot of confidence talking about sex and sexuality. I have no fear about that. Obviously, I talk on the radio about it regularly. And I'm not in a partnership. And so I express that sometimes my authenticity is that sometimes I feel insecure working with couples because I'm not in a 30-year marriage, right? So a lot of the couples I work with have been together for 27 years, 30 years, 10, 15, 20 years, and I'm not in that. And so sometimes I have insecurities about that. And so I shared that because my intention was to be authentic and to share, to create a safe space for authenticity in the space. And we didn't do anything sexual. It was all like my language was PG-13, but what we did was very PG, right? Like there was nothing sexual done. And I was trying my darndest to get people just to talk about their experience, the 10 people in the space with
and
like
that was
out loud.
Problem?
And they couldn't do it.
Really?
They couldn't do it. Yeah. And I was just like, I said it. I was like, I shared this out loud. I was like, I have this deep desire for you guys to communicate what's going on. And I'm surrendered to the fact that that's too much out of your comfort zone right now. And I just expressed that. I was like, this is what I feel. They spoke with each other, but yeah, they didn't. One of the reasons I really want to do workshops for couples is because I really want couples to come together and realize that they're not the only ones going through this. That's the thing with my one-on-one coaching is everybody thinks that their problems are unique and nobody else is going through it. And everybody has the same problems.
I'm a weirdo. I don't want other people to have my problems. I don't want them not to. I don't care if they're my problems and they're mine to address. Now, I know I'm a weirdo and I'm not like everybody else, but it's really, really important for whatever reason, whichever way, that people know they're okay. What they're going through is okay.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be like anybody else, or it could be like everybody else, and you're okay. And that's so incredibly vital to the process.
Yeah, and your desires and your kinks and your fantasies, like we said, as long as it's consensual and adults only and not intentionally creating trauma. I think that's the one I forgot the intentional part, right? It's pretty awesome. And it's totally normal. I get people reaching out to me on Instagram all the time going like, I have this fantasy, or my boyfriend told me he wanted to do this with me, or my husband wanted this. Is that normal? I'm like, yeah, it's normal. And to have a desire that's interesting, as long as it's not harming you, it's completely normal. And it was funny, actually. One of the girls recently, they reached out to me and was talking about, there's like this fantasy with, it's called Big Black Cock Fantasy. It's one of the most popular fantasies on the internet. I actually looked it up. I think it was 65% of men and 42% of women have that fantasy. They did a study on it. And so she thought she was the only person in the whole world that her boyfriend and her were the only ones, and was that normal and was that weird? And I'm like, babe, here you go. Check out this article. You're good. And she's like, oh, wow. Oh, that's cool. Okay.
It's so funny with humans. It's like, what's normal? Normal's a setting on a dryer. It's normal. Who cares?
What's normal is not talking about it, unfortunately.
Yeah, that ain't working.
It's not great, but it's normal.
Okay, so we're getting close to the top of the hour.
Yeah.
I want to make sure We have one workshop that you're putting online very soon, one course.
I have multiple courses that are probably going to be released in the next 2 weeks. So if you want to check them out, you can go to roseheartsong.com, scroll to the bottom of the page, and enter your email for Dear Desire, which is a love letter from me.
Can you do that about half the speed?
Yes. Thank you. roseheartsong.com. Scroll down to the bottom of the page, and you can join my email list called Dear Desire. It's a love letter from Rose, and it's the taboo things that I can't talk about on social media and probably shouldn't talk about on the radio. And I'll be releasing all of the information about my program. So one of them is the Charged. I have another one for men to regulate their nervous systems for erectile dysfunction. And then I have another one for women for a self-pleasure practice. And I also have one for couples to reactivate their erotic turn-on in their marriage.
Love it. roseheartsong.com. Check it out. There's a lot that you're going to see, and none of it is vulgar. None of it is pornographic in any way, shape, or form.
No way.
It's talking about your health and well-being. We are mind, body, and spirit. And it is vital that we understand that sensuality and sexuality is absolutely all three of those in different times and sometimes together.
Yeah, and I always say that sex is the way adults play, and we get to play more.
Yes, ma'am. All right, and by the way, who's your fantastic guest next hour?
You are.
Love that answer. All right, you guys, you know what to do. It's if you have questions, you didn't feel comfortable saying them on air, give me an email, innerjourneygregfriedman@gmail.com. Thank you to all of you who worked to make this possible. And most of all, as I say this every single week, man, you have no idea how much I appreciate you, the listening audience. This show cannot exist without your participation. For that, and so much more, I am hugely grateful. You've been listening to Inner Journey with Greg Friedman.
Hello, Laguna Beach and the World Wide Web. Everybody out there in the world, this is Rose Heartsong, and you are listening to Sex Ritual Radio with Rose Heartsong, as in myself, which I just said. And I am so excited to be here. It's been a minute since I've been in the radio station, so I had some health stuff going on, and I am back. So those of you who have not listened to the show before, I talk a lot about sex. And I like to talk about spirituality, holistic health, and all things taboo. And I have a fun guest on tonight, and we're going to have a fun taboo conversation. Greg Friedman, who is the host of the show that is prior to me, Inner Journey with Greg Friedman, and he is here today. He has been my radio mentor. I would not be on the radio today.
Not true.
Yes, it is so true. There's so many times I wanted to give up, and you have held me accountable to showing up every week. So I really, really appreciate you. Thank you for being here.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate what you do in this world. It's way needed.
Oh, thank you. And I appreciate what you do in this world. It's way needed. I was hoping we could talk about sex and psychedelics today.
Absolutely.
And before we dive into that topic, can you tell the listeners your relationship with what you do and what you offer in the world and who you are and who you work with and all the above?
For my entire life, I have studied and done ceremony with indigenous elders. I've studied dogmas and a gazillion different paths and done my best to learn and apply from all of them in order not only for me to grow, but to be of better service. And I host this radio program. I work with clients one-on-one. I teach workshops all over the world. And the most fun thing that I probably do is I take people all over the world to do journeys with indigenous elders. Because that, to me is so elegant in its simplicity. I have found in the indigenous world, it cuts straight to the truth. It doesn't complicate it with a whole bunch of societal norms. The truth is the truth. One of the things that I found astounding recently is there was a study on the highest frequency. And before I heard this, I would have sworn that the highest frequency is love. I would have bet the house on it. And it turns out I would have lost the house. The highest frequency is authenticity. And that is what we so often cover up, mask after mask after mask. But I'll tell you this, when I'm in the middle of a jungle with a Shipibo elder, there ain't no mask. The man is who the man is. The woman singing songs is the woman who she is. And the songs come from a true, authentic source. The true, authentic source. Because when we're being authentic, we're just a reflection of source energy.
Yeah, I love that. For those who are listening who don't really know what a Shipibo elder is, and what
there is that.
what going around the world and doing these journeys with these people mean, can you simplify that, please?
I have worked with Aborigine elders in the outback. I have worked with Peruvian. Shipibo is a tribe along the Amazon. We've gone 12 hours up a tributary of the Amazon to be in the middle of the rainforest. And it's amazing. It is glorious. The energy is palpable. And the people reflect that energy of the rainforest so cleanly and simply. And you go there, and people think you're going there for the plant medicine. In one regard, they're correct. In the way they mean it, they're not. Plant medicine is being in that environment. Plant medicine is understanding that the light, the frequency, the sound, the nature, the fish, the every single thing that's going on in that environment is medicine. And then when you can learn it in some place that's a little bit isolated, a little bit of its own classroom away from everything else and anything else, then you start to learn how to bridge it and take that same energy into this cacophony. And that's a stunning revelation and a stunning way to live.
So for simplification, because I love to do that, when you say plant medicine
can be a gazillion different things. More often than not, when you're going down to Peru, you're talking about ayahuasca.
Okay.
And one of the things that I found, especially these days, is that people will give their power to the plant. Ayahuasca did this. Ayahuasca did this. I want to try ayahuasca. Why? I don't know. I heard it was cool, so I want to try it. And and I just go, plant medicine is a GPS. Yeah. With the right intention, always intention, with the right guide and the right integration, it has the ability to lead you more clearly to yourself. And a lot of people become addicted to the exterior. Oh, it's the medicine did it. I need more medicine, or I need to do it again. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but there's a story about Ram Dass going to see his guru. Ram Dass goes to see his guru, and he and Timothy Leary by that time were heavy into acid. So he hands because his guru asked about this stuff that they were doing. So he hands his guru a blotter with 100 tabs of acid on it. And the guru goes, bloom, all 100. And Ram Dass goes, what the? And the guru's sitting there for a while and he goes, interesting, I get it. Because he was in such a place that he and the medicine were indiscernible, that he is the medicine. And so you could recognize things but you don't ever give away yourself to those things.
Yeah, I love that. I do think for those of you who are feeling a call to try something like this, meant to who is bringing you on the journey is really important.
Absolutely.
There's some people out there that are facilitating different plant ceremonies that can be very dangerous and as you're saying, this kind of addiction to the high or the experience, or even addiction to the darkness and the depth of where you can go on these journeys, and finding that balance and attunement is really cool. And I love that you bring people to the traditional places in which these plants are coming from, versus just like doing it somewhere in Los Angeles in somebody's house. It's a different journey.
Oh, it's if you go to the place where the medicine is from, literally where this plant is grown, the resonance is so incredibly palpable. You feel it in every aspect of your being, because it's singing to its own land, through its own portal to the universe and to you.
Yeah. So we were on your radio show previous to this in our journey, and we're talking about surrender and the art of surrender. And one of my absolute favorite ways of surrendering and practices is through plant medicine.
Well,
and it's challenging.
Most people don't understand that. Almost always, not always, but almost always, and I was one of those freaks that really most often didn't, there is a arc to this. And part of the arc is like in everyday life. Change is not difficult. Mm-mm. What makes change difficult is the way we grip onto the past. That causes the friction. The same thing happens to plant medicine. When you are being drawn into the vortex of the journey, what we most often do as humans is grip on and resist. And that causes this feeling like I can't even begin to express. It's like if you're a surfer, you can equate it to being in the washing machine, like being pummeled by a wave and being tossed over and over and over again, not sure which way's up, and you're not sure if you're going to be able to breathe again, until all of a sudden you can.
Yeah, definitely. I think the unique opportunity to have a really beautiful, blissful experience comes with the practice of surrender.
Everything comes with the practice of surrender.
True. It's true. Yeah, definitely. But there's other psychedelics too besides ayahuasca. You mentioned one, which is acid, and then mushrooms, which are like, and then peyote is another one. So there's a collection of different psychedelics. And going back to the topic, psychedelics and sex, I think, and I'd love to hear your perspective on this, I believe from my embodied experience, because I've experienced a lot of different psychedelics in my lifetime, that they give us a unique opportunity to be in our bodies in a way that not using them doesn't allow, if that makes sense. So when we practice the use of ceremonial psychedelics, not just party psychedelics, let me bring in the intention, bring back the focus of the intention, right? The intention is a prayer and to grow and to have spiritual evolution in this journey. When we do that, we have the ability to be in our bodies more, I believe.
I would say that there are going to be some facilitators in the medicine world that are specifically going to bring you into your body more. And there are going to be some where it's going to be really hard to stay in your body because Elvis has left the building and gone to Mars.
That's true. That being said, going back to it, even when I do ayahuasca or something that would take me out of my body and into the ethers, there is still, in my experience, and you've worked with a lot more people than I have in this realm, so you know more than I do, but that there's an experience of being in a deeper relationship with the body after experiencing medicine.
So I am sure you've experienced this as well. When people ask about ayahuasca, what's usually the second question they ask?
the second question is, am I going to puke?
Always.
Yeah.
Am I going to puke? Am I going to poop?
Yeah.
Over and over and over again. And what's the answer to that?
I always answer that I haven't done that recently, but I have in the past.
My answer is very simple. If you need to.
Yeah.
It's that what it is a purge. And then I talk about peyote meetings, because in relation to that, there's one man in a peyote meeting that's this guy that carries around a bucket. And he knows just the right time to go to just the right person. And that person empties out their contents that they've been carrying around ancestrally, recently, all across the spectrum. And when they are done, he takes a moment and he looks them in the eye and he says, thank you, because it's sacred and it's an offering. And so often with a Western construct, we don't understand. Let go of that poop any which way you can.
I actually just went through some food poisoning experiences. And I will say I have done a lot of, in the spiritual journey world, we call it getting well. But I have done a lot of getting well in a lot of peyote ceremonies. And I will say that food poisoning, vomiting, and peyote vomiting are very different experiences. And also...
Are they?
Oh, yes, for sure. 100,000%. And having too much to drink, puking, is a different experience. I think we have this association with the flu or with drinking too much alcohol or getting food poisoning or something, and that's puking, right? But I think that talking back to what you're saying about him saying thank you and having it be a sacred thing, that I think that when there is a prayer involved and a medicine involved, it's a different type of experience, in my experience. And I have done a lot of puking.
I understand.
With peyote.
On the microcosm, I can agree with you. On the macrocosm, it's all a prayer.
That's true, I guess so. Yeah, it's still getting something outside of your body that is not working for your body. So let's go back to... So do you disagree or agree with me about it being an embodied experience, like helping you have a deeper relationship with your body?
My answer is it depends.
It depends. Okay.
It depends on the individual, depends on what the individual or the couple or the group need in that any given time, and because the same person journeying one day could exactly have that experience because that's what they need.
Interesting.
And then a day later, a week later, they may need to go to Mars. And it's very, very important that they know that it's okay. Either way, you are doing and going where you need to go. And as long as you have a qualified guide, they are going to give you all the space to go to any realm, inner or outer, that you need to.
Okay, so I'm going towards something.
Go. But I'm not disagreeing with you.
Okay.
Absolutely, it could be very embodied. Absolutely.
Okay,
I'm just saying that it's not
that expectation. Shouldn't put that expectation on it.
And it's not singular. It's not one-dimensional.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that you and I actually have in common is we have we have devoted our experiences to plant medicine ceremonies in one way or another. You have some more life experience than me, potentially, possibly. And also, in my experience, you give me this feedback pretty often that I'm in my body a lot. I live embodied. And in my experience, my journey to embodied living has come through my experience with psychedelics, from mushrooms and acid, peyote, and ayahuasca as the primary ones. And I have taken all of the above quite a variety of times. And they have taught me, not every single time, like I said, I've gone to one time I had so much acid. I don't know how much it was actually. It was like a whole puddle. So it might have been around the 100-time dose. And I literally I was in Kauai in the North Shore, and I went to Dr. Seuss land.
Nice.
Which was a really fun land to go into. That being said, my practice of psychedelics has allowed me to practice surrender And it's also allowed me to have a deeper relationship with my body and my pleasure. And it's also allowed me to be more present in life in general, which has allowed me to be more present with intimacy. And it's a big part of why I do the work that I do.
Can you tell? I'm trying not to interview you because it's my habit, but I am really curious. How did plant medicine help you really expand or embody your sensuality or sexuality more?
I think it taught me how to surrender. It taught me the art of presence and art of surrender and the art of being in the body, because like when you're puking your guts out on peyote, you can't really avoid the experience. You can't be like, oh, so I'm just going to not choose to do this right now.
Yeah. I'm sorry, baby. The wave is going. It's going to take you one way or another.
Actually, the first time I did peyote was I moved to Kauai when I was 21, and I was living in this house, and it was with the Native American church. And I was sleeping in one of the bedrooms, and they had their teepee was being sent over from Oklahoma to Kauai. And
Cheyenne?
I should know this. Probably yes. Anyways, the teepee was getting sent over, and I'll call him and ask. I can't believe I don't know the answer to that. I'm just so present sometimes. Those things are a priority for me. Anyways, so they were going to do a meeting, and the teepee didn't arrive in time, so they decided to do a house meeting, which is very not common. And they decided to do the house meeting in the room that I was sleeping in.
Oh, okay.
So I either couldn't sleep in the bedroom or the room that I was sleeping in, or I got to do the ceremony. And at the time I was very Jewish, and they have a tendency to pray to Jesus in the peyote church. And so I got very triggered by that and asked to leave.
Really?
Yeah, I left.
Jesus was, I don't know, Jewish?
Yeah, no. I know. I have a great relationship with Jesus now. He's my homeboy. And also, I left the ceremony triggered, and I went to my tent, and I spent the whole night of sleeping in a tent in the yard because I had no place to sleep. And I was puking the whole night, and I just couldn't. I chose to leave the ceremony, but I couldn't get out of the experience. And
the ceremony didn't choose to leave you.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason I'm telling you this right now, there's a reason I'm talking about this, is psychedelics is sex. It's every time I've had a journey with learning how to surrender and to not being in control of the experience and being with what is, it's allowed me to be in my body.
So I want to take a second for us right now to CYA. And it means everything that we're talking about is not telling you to go out and do this. Oh. Everything we're talking about is sharing our own experiences and our own understanding of the path. We're not saying it's the light and the way. No. We're saying these are some of the things that we've worked with that for ourselves and with others in order to facilitate more expansiveness. And we're not saying it's for you or it's not for you. That's up to you to decide.
Yeah, no, we are definitely, I definitely think there are certain people that should not do certain psychedelics at all whatsoever. And you should, if you choose to decide to do them, be very particular about who you do them with. That's really important.
So important. Guides are huge in the process. And also, I am so over the top stringent about integration because I've seen a lot of guides go, hey, how was your night? Good. Okay, next. And then they're out. However, if you cannot process with a person, if you cannot integrate, then what the hell did you just do? Why'd you do that? Because now, I'm not saying you're not going to find your way. I'm just saying you're going to flounder a bit more as a result of not having some kind of mirror reflection in it.
Yeah, you definitely need to be held afterwards because you can have your whole life turned upside down and inside out and all over. Everything you thought was true may not be true anymore. And you're like, what is this reality I'm in?
What do I do with that?
Yeah, and it's interesting because as we're having this conversation, I'm thinking more into it is as I was in the journey of the relationship with the peyote medicine I learned how to pray in a way that was really profound. And I learned to have reverence and respect in a way that was really profound. And I think that I'm just noticing this right now. This is really cool that I brought that into sexuality unintentionally, right? I brought the reverence and the prayer and the respect and the devotion aspect in that I learned from that way of being through the church.
It's interesting. The only word that surprised me in all of that was unintentionally. And I say that because you're so intentional. And I see the way that you approach all of this is where most of Western culture is so flippant about sex and sensuality and so off the mark. You are very, very conscious. And when I say you're in your body a lot in reflection to you, one of the things that people do is they go, oh, you're so aware. Isn't that great? It must be all light and love. I'm going, baby, aware expands both the light and the shadow.
Oh, I feel everything.
Everything.
Yeah. It's exhausting sometimes, a lot of times.
And when you are in your body, whereas most people aren't going to feel this ache or this pain or this place that may not be in perfect alignment, you feel it all. And that's both a blessing and it's a difficult way to learn your lessons and to provide opportunities for your own growth.
It can be a curse sometimes. It can be really challenging. And I'll have to say, I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah, and that's what people need. There's surrender again.
Yeah, the surrender. Because I've also experienced so much pleasure in my body that the majority of the planet hasn't even tapped into. And so I think it's cool that we're talking about this right now, is when you tap into pleasure in your body, you're also tapping into the pain that's available in your body. And that's why kink is so cool, is like you're playing with pleasure and pain at the same time because they're closely linked and so related to each other.
They're almost synonymous.
And pain, the beauty of pain is it really brings you awareness to the fact that you're alive and that you have a body and it's present. And it's present. Pain brings awareness and presence.
It can.
It can, if you choose to be present to it. A lot of people use drugs to numb and disassociate from the pain, right? Chronically or acutely. And also, so one of the things I do with my coaching is I use kink. I call it somatic kink. So I use kink experiences as an alchemical process to body awareness, to allowing pleasure to be brought into chronic pain.
Okay, now I understood all of those words.
But so an example
Break it down, will you please?
So I have had an habit in my life to have experiences that have created a lot of pain. I could become victims to that and be like, oh, this happened to me, or I can't believe that happened and this person did this to me. Or I can say, wow, I'm a kinky woman who really loves pain. Interesting. How can I experience intentional pain through, let's say, flogging or spanking or different sensation play that is a consensual chosen pain to fulfill those needs of pain versus going out and having unconscious accidents happen that cause pain. Does that make sense? Absolutely
makes sense.
Yeah. So when we start, it's really profound shadow work, really. It's when you go, and so can psychedelics, they can be profound shadow work too. But when we go in and go, oh, interesting, what part of me is enjoying and finding pleasure in the part of me I don't like?
Talk a little. That's really fascinating to me because
that's the core of what I teach, actually.
And it's so interesting to me because if we're willing to go into that part of ourselves, is what I'm hearing you say, that we're not necessarily all that cool with, and go, hey, nice to meet you. What are we going to do here?
It's beyond that. It's like, it's nice to meet you. How can I become erotically turned on by you? How can I allow myself to be turned on by this experience? And those are it's the parts of ourselves that we despise the most.
Talk to that, because I'm not sure I know what you mean.
Okay, so I got this philosophy from a book called Existential Kink, and inside of that book, I've massaged it and made it my own flavor. But I got the philosophy from that. And so in her philosophy, she's talking about, hey, she was in a relationship with her partner at the time, and this is when she realized this, and he was physically beating her. Abuse, right?
Abuse.
Like abuse, non-consensual beating abuse, which is 100% not okay in any way, shape, or form. And she was somehow had this realization that when he was physically hitting her, that a part of her body was turned on by the experience, and that is why she was staying in the relationship. She was attached to that feeling, even though it wasn't positive. It was toxic and poison and horrific. I'm absolutely against abuse in every way, but she got to realize that a part of her was enjoying the sensation of the abuse. And so instead of shaming it and rejecting it and ignoring it and shoving it away, she allowed herself to be present with it and allowed it space to be loved and cared for. And then in that practice, she exited the relationship. She had the embodied power to leave the relationship, and she never created an experience where that kind of relationship happened again.
I think that is so incredibly important on multiple levels, because one of the things that I hear you saying is, look, this demon doesn't need to be vilified. It needs to be held. It needs to be welcomed in. It needs to understand it's a part of the fold, and we can create an alliance with it. Then doing that, it doesn't come out in funky ways, or it doesn't inspire you to put yourself in funky positions for it to come out in funky ways. That's really important in and of itself. The other part is, oh, I like this. That's okay. There's no shame in your game. You don't have to say, like we were talking about in the last hour, we don't have to say, is this normal? Who cares? Do you like it? Yeah. Does it work for you? Then find a healthy way to express it.
Yeah.
And that's
exactly. it. So I'll give a really clear example. I'm working with some clients, and the woman is having a hard time with surrender, right? And she asked me, how do I do that? And I said, okay, let's play with some rope, right? There's something called shibari. That's an ancient Japanese rope tying experience that's in the realm of kink. It's becoming actually a lot more popular right now, which is really cool. And I said, let's play with some rope. And I brought out the rope and she freaked out about it. She was like,
what did freaking out look like?
She's like, I do not like this. I'm triggered. I want to slap you. I'm so upset right now. And instead of getting defensive or getting into her story, like accepting the story, I just said, I know you are, but I think you're going to really like this. And I think it's going to be really nourishing for you.
Did she have a safe word?
She had a safe word. Definitely. It was red. The word red was the safe word. We brought up a safe word. And then I asked her if she trusted me and if she was available to surrender to me, and she consented to it. And so then I tied her up. And when I tied her up, she loved it. And she was like so blissed out and so happy in it. And it felt so safe for her. And so there's a part of her that deeply yearns to surrender. And there's a deep part of her that's deeply petrified of it.
Yes.
And so I created a space for her to surrender in a way that felt safe, even though she was afraid of it.
I love it.
And so that's what I'm talking about with somatic kink, right? Using kink tools to help heal through patterns that aren't working in relationship dynamics.
See, and for me, I had a partner a while ago that was very similar, very terrified to surrender. And my way of dealing with it was never forcing myself onto them, not being aggressive, not going forward, because I was putting out the invitation and creating the container that intentionally was to invite them into their own safety. And hearing you speak, I think I might have been a little bit too one-dimensional.
How do you mean?
I think there's a balance to it where you go, okay, I'm waiting or I'm providing an environment that's ripe for you to surrender. How about you surrender in this way instead of just coming to it? Because maybe if it is a co-creation, it becomes easier. Or at least that's another pathway.
So you can't make anyone surrender.
No. Absolutely.
They have to consciously choose to do so. And you can create the space in order for them to do so in order to stay safe. One of the things I did is I tied her up and then I held the rope and I guided her to lay back into the rope and to let me hold her so that she had to trust that I would hold her and not drop her. She was just sitting on the ground and I just had her lean back, right? And I saw I had to hold an anchored frequency in my body to let her body know that I've got her. And I think that's the piece, as allowing that safety. You have to feel it in your body.
But in addition, you may also have to, like you did, introduce a different pathway or possibility.
Oh, yeah, totally.
That's what I was talking about.
Okay, got it. Understood. So going back to the using kink to alchemize the shadows, because I think it's an interesting topic and I love to talk about it. I could talk about it all day long.
Cool, I'm in.
Which plant medicines are a tool to alchemize the shadows too.
Absolutely. And the light. And that's one of the things I was talking about in the first hour earlier today. So often we aggrandize the shadow. This is the place where our work is. This is the place where the catalysts happen. And it's very much true. However, what we forget and sometimes discount is growth and change can happen in the light. And often we're so busy living one-dimensionally that we forget to find the growth and the joy and the celebration and the happiness and the ease of life.
Yeah, I love to celebrate. I love the celebration, 100%. It's a beautiful gift to do. And one of the things I do with my clients is I definitely have them anchor in their celebration for any little things that are wins, right? So a lot of clients come to me and they have this huge problem that's an issue in their marriage and they feel really frustrated. And then they have a breakthrough in that thing that was such a big deal. And they're like, oh yeah, I had a breakthrough. It was cool. I'm like, what? You were so frustrated about this. This was under your skin and this is the end of the marriage and blah, blah, blah. And you overcame it and you're just sitting there going, yeah, it's cool now. What are you talking about? Why aren't you shouting off the top of the rooftops about how amazing it is that this happened?
Because that may be that's their capacity. That's all they got. And it's still because you and I are people like, wait, what? There's a whole big universe out there? Why wouldn't I fly?
I think it goes back to suppression of pleasure and desire, right?
Yeah.
Like when we suppress our erotic turn on, we're suppressing an aspect of bliss and joy and expansion and beauty and light and the epicness of life. And so I think that when we allow ourselves to tap into that energy and don't have shame around it, right? You can be turned on and not have to have sex. You can be turned on just to be turned on by life and use it as a creative life force and energy.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah. And so I think the more I'm having this conversation with you right now, the more I'm realizing that sex and psychedelics are such similar tools towards similar transformational experiences.
In many, many ways, it's our humanity realizing our infinite capacity.
Yeah, definitely. So still going back to the existential kink aspect is the quote, what you resist persists, right? So if you're resisting a part of yourself consistently, there is a part of you that might be turned on by that part. And I have a whole episode about it. You guys can go to KXFM.org and check out it. But I have this whole episode about...
What's it called?
It's... Oh, gosh, I can't remember. It's I think it's episode 6. But it's all about how kink is infused into every area of your life. bondage. What parts of your life are you bonded by, and what parts of your life are you dominating over? What parts of your life are you submissive to? What parts of your life are you receiving pain or being a masochist?
I want to go back to what you said preceding that, though, if we could, please.
Yeah.
What you resist persists. When I'm working with clients and they're like, it's horrible, it sucks, it's just the worst, I go, cool, what are you getting out of it? Are you crazy? I'm not getting anything out of it. I go, let's try that again.
Okay, so I say, okay, cool, what part of you is turned on by it?
Yeah.
It's the same thing, just a different flavor.
Yeah, and it's like they will just go, no way in hell is this giving me anything. And I just go, I'll wait for it. We're good.
Yeah.
Let's explore a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Psychedelics aren't just ayahuasca or peyote. There's also mushrooms.
Everything has an energy. Everything has an intention with it. Everything, like humans, they're going to have certain areas where they are more skilled and certain areas where it's not their field necessarily. So there's a lot of things that go on. People don't understand how many hallucinogens are in your spice cabinet right now.
Interesting.
Cinnamon, nutmeg.
Oh, yeah. I knew this, actually. I just forgot that I knew it.
But don't try this at home, folks. It'll burn like nobody's business.
I would never do it.
And
Oh,
here's the big one. For me, sassafras.
yeah.
Because sassafras is essentially what they alchemized X into. However, sassafras in its root form is amazing because it works. You were talking about different ones for different applications. Sassafras goes straight to the heart space. If I was free to do this, I would work with sassafras in couples that are struggling all the time, because then all of a sudden, all the BS that they thought was important isn't.
Yeah.
All those things that they prioritized, they discover aren't as important as you sitting across from me right here, right now. Aren't as important as the love that I feel for myself that I'm now able to express to you. If we just put it in the reservoir system and everybody's drinking water, we'd all be better off. I'm just saying. Kidding.
For those of you who do not know, this is KXFM, Laguna's Community Radio, and it's called Tune In and Turn On. And the reason it's called Tune In and Turn On is a homage to Timothy Leary. Isn't it correct?
Yeah, Timothy Leary's one of Laguna Beach's big claim to fame. He was busted here. Yeah. He was arrested in Laguna Beach.
And wasn't acid originally created here?
No.
It wasn't?
No.
It got popular here?
One of the places that got really popular.
Yeah. And he lived here.
Yes.
And so I think there was there's a documentary about it. Have you watched the documentary?
I have a
Beach?
memory like a steel sieve.
Okay. Because I did watch it, and I believe 1.5 million hits of acid were facilitated out of Laguna Beach before they had to leave.
Nice.
And so one of the intentions was for this town to turn on the world. And that is why we're tuning in and turn on. In KXFM, Laguna's Community Radio. And so it's appropriate for us to be talking about psychedelics. And I have had sex on both mushrooms and acid. And I definitely feel like they have been incredible tools for me. I'm not telling you guys to do this. I'm just sharing my own personal experience to get into a different frequency of going from sex as a primal animalistic thing to sex as a spiritual and source to God. And both times that I first did it, every time, because I am an intentional person, I do say an intention and said a prayer before I consume and go into that space. So it does become a ritual.
And like everything else, if you're going into that space with another person, that person has to be able to travel with you in such a way that it's safe, and that if they're not able to meet you on that level, that has to be okay with both partners.
Yeah, 100%. And you want to do this with somebody that you know very well and that you trust very well, because it can open the heart space really quickly and create a lot of emotional experiences very fast. And in the realm of Tantra and also in the realm of psychedelics, it's really important that you're practicing, if you choose to practice these things with somebody else, that there's somebody that you deeply have a bond with and a trust and a deep connection, because they can open the heart space very, very quickly.
And it's really important because most people in Western culture have a very gripping kind of attitude to this. I open my heart space now, don't leave. I'm attached to this. I can't let go. And that's not your heart space.
No.
Your heart space needs to breathe into freedom. It needs to be a non-attachment practice, because ultimately attachment is an illusion.
Yeah.
Because everything is incessantly changing, incessantly transitioning. And if we could go to our heart space without the expectation of it needs to be this, and once I open up, then you need to do this, then we could fly. But the other things are just going to weigh us down.
I think we have a confusion of codependency is love, and it's not, right? Love is love, and codependency is codependency, and they're separate. And yet, in the realms of codependency, we say, oh, if you loved me, then you would do A, B, and C, right?
And it's funny because in the first hour, I had Don Miguel on, and he was saying exactly that.
Of course.
When I had him on the radio show live a few years ago, he and I talked about this. Love is unconditional. Okay, Don Miguel, love is unconditional, but partnerships aren't. No. Love is unconditional. What do I do when my partner is not doing this or doing this, and whatever it is? That's not love.
Did you guys talk about The Mastery of Love? I love that book.
So yeah, say more.
It's a huge part of my tools kit for my clients. Because I'm like, you guys are just walking around scrubbing salt in each other's wounds and not salve. So how do we bring in the salve? Where's the salve? And the philosophy from that book is at the beginning, he talks about how we're all just beings with skin diseases. and we touch each other, and then we recoil. And the older we get, the more skin disease we have. And when we're young, little children, we don't have the skin diseases. And that when we touch each other, we recoil. And that the majority of us are taking salt and scrubbing it into the wounds, as opposed to being the salve that helps the skin disease heal.
You know, you just did something really sweet.
Mm.
As you were talking about this, I could see you recognizing and absorbing, feeling empathetically the grief from the inability for people just to touch and be touched, for the inability to provide salve rather than salt. And that's very sweet because I can see you feel it, but you also don't take it on.
No.
You recognize it. And it is sad. It's like I would talk about when I was a little kid. And when I was a little kid, I'd walk around the streets and I'd look people in the eye. And even grown men all the time would look away. Or women, children, whatever. They couldn't even stand seeing and being seen. And that made me so heartbroken, even as a little kid. And I look at you, seeing and being seen, and I just want to recognize the beauty of that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I feel a lot, and I also, most of the time, don't take it on. I'm a human. I have human traits, and I make lots of mistakes very often.
You call me about them.
I do. So thanks for being my mentor about that. We are wrapping up. So even though this conversation has been so fun, and we've been chatting for 2 hours, and it feels like 2 minutes. So I appreciate you. Thank you for being on the show on Sex Ritual Radio tonight. I really appreciate you. And for those of the listeners who would love to potentially go on a journey with you, how can they find you?
GregFriedman.com. The show is before yours, 7 to 9 p.m. on Sundays. Inner Journey with Greg Friedman. Social media is Inner Journey with Greg Friedman, or just plain old Greg Friedman.
It's been a pleasure. And if you're interested in having a private chit chat with me, you can go to roseheartsong.com and schedule a complimentary consultation. And we can talk about the so taboo things.
Rose is a rock star. She is humble till you get to know her. And she is incredibly, incredibly skilled at working with clients and guiding them towards themselves so they could be with one another.
Thanks. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you as well. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is Sex Ritual Radio with Rose Heartsong, and it's been a pleasure having you here. Thanks for listening. I always say if it wasn't for you, it'd just be Greg and I having a chit chat.
I'd be okay with that too.
So thanks for the listeners, and thanks for everyone behind the scenes over at KXFM and all the volunteers and all the amazing, beautiful people that make this show a reality. And I'm here every single Sunday from 9 to 10 p.m. on Sex Ritual Radio. Have a beautiful night, and we'll see you next week. I'm going to be real with you. I am so over sex being a taboo topic that we talk about. I am ready for conscious sexuality, spiritual sexuality to be a conversation in the room. I have been in so many rooms full of people. I share that I'm a sex coach, and people get awkward and shrink and get small around me. And I am so ready for that to be done. And it starts with you. In order to make this conversation bigger, this podcast gets to grow. In 2026, I am committed to impacting 100,000 people's lives with this, and I need your help. So would you please subscribe, leave a comment, share it on your Instagram story, or text it to a friend. It would mean the world to me, and I will see you next week.